Spinal Tap, The End Continues is the sequel that goes to 11. If you're a fan of the original, you're going to love this one. I did. Hey, I'm Mike. I studied film, I work in TV, and I love movies. This review will have spoilers, and it's the spoilers that make this movie great, so if you haven't seen it yet, bookmark and save this video and come back to it later. I really want you to enjoy this one. Well, the gang has returned, and this time they brought friends. Oh yeah, the cameos in this are crazy. In Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, we find the now estranged bandmates some 15 years after their last gig. Nigel Tufnell, Christopher Guest, is the proud owner of a cheese and guitar shop. Yes, they sell cheese and guitars. Lead singer David St. Hubbins, Michael McKean, is still hacking it as a musician, making horror movie scores, which just consists of one tone, and creating music played on hold messages, which he proudly brags he won a holdie for. And of course, bassist Derek Smalls, Harry Shearer, who is running an exotic glue store and museum. The guys reunite for one final show in New Orleans. The film was written by Rob Reiner and Guest and McKean and Shearer, with Reiner directing. The original This Is Spinal Tap was Rob Reiner's directorial debut. He went on to direct such classics as Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, and A Few Good Men. But Spinal Tap is his baby, and he plays fictional documentarian Marty DeBurgi, who is just as much a part of the Spinal Tap lore as the band members. It struck me while watching Spinal Tap 2 that we rarely get a director of this caliber behind a comedy, much less a sequel to a comedy, and it shows. Before seeing The End Continues, I rewatched the original, and the new movie is a far cry from the run-and-gun, low-budget feature from 1984. This is a movie. There's a sentimental thread running through the film. It seems a rift has developed between Nigel and David. They were childhood friends who experienced the highs and lows of fame, but through it all, it seems it was a woman who came between them. I would have liked to see more of this relationship. The actors and the director are all good enough to pull off a subplot that could move audiences, and it might be my only criticism of the film. They left so much on the table that I was disappointed. To use a baseball term, it was a solid double, but it could have been a home run. The main plot has a ticking clock that follows the guys getting ready for their final gig, and all the things that are involved in that. But the best part of Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, are the cameos. As we know from the original, over the years, Spinal Tap hasn't had the best luck with drummers. 11 drummers have met with untimely and unusual deaths, and word has gotten out in the drumming community to stay away from tap. There are cameos by Roots drummer Questlove, Red Hot Chili Pepper drummer Chad Smith, and Metallica drummer Lars Ulrich, all who turned down Tap's request to drum for them. Finally, they find their candidate in a young, exuberant Dee Dee Crockett, played by Valerie Franco. Franco's a drummer first, known as a studio musician who has played with a lot of big acts, but might be known to comedy audiences for filling in for Fred Armisen on The Late Show with Seth Meyers. She is a perfect complement to the guys and right in line with the spirit of Spinal Tap, and she does a great job. There are additional cameos by Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood, but the best cameos of all are from Sir Paul McCartney and Sir Elton John, both of whom have actual parts, not just walk-on roles. There is a scene where Paul tries to give the guys advice on a song they're writing, which they don't take. And as it turns out, Elton John is a huge fan of Spinal Tap and performs a couple of songs with the guys, ultimately succumbing to a prop malfunction. Pay close attention to Elton John in the hospital. His casts are all bedazzled. It's the little things I find funny. It really shows what you can do with a big budget, a known property, three of the funniest writer-actors in the business, and arguably one of the best directors in Hollywood. If you're wondering why it took over 40 years to get a Spinal Tap sequel, well, you can thank a lawsuit for that. Following the 1984 release, Reiner, Guest, McKean, and Shearer have been embroiled in a protracted legal struggle over the film's rights and profits. The suit alleged Hollywood accounting, mismanagement of trademarks, and grossly inadequate earnings reported. In brief, Hollywood accounting refers to studios cooking the books to not show any profits for a particular film. Sometimes it's to offset another movie on the studio's books that has lost money, and other times it's to simply not pay the parties invested. Either way, the suit was settled in 2019, and as of 2021, all rights, including characters, trademarks, and licensing, will be handled by the newly formed company owned by the four creators. It would seem they got to work almost immediately on the sequel, and I would expect guitar amps that go to 11 to hit guitar centers sometime next year. I have no information on that. It's just what I would do. And they got the rights back just in time. The guys aren't getting any younger. I don't know how many more Spinal Tap movies they have in them, or how many guest appearances on late-night talk shows or music awards ceremonies, but I'm glad we got one more movie at the very least. If you're a fan of the original, and especially if you like any of the Christopher Guest movies like Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman, A Mighty Wind, this will be right up your alley. Anyway, I'd love to read your thoughts on Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, in the comments below. Film is about community. I'm Mike, and I love movies.